DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. I get asked every now and then by some young man, often athlete, but many times not an athlete, Dre, how can I be an alpha male? How can I be a more dominant male in situations, whether that's playing sports is one area I get asked, and the other one is dealing with females. Usually is those two areas that a young man is asking me, how can I be more dominant? How can I be the alpha male or the alpha dog or whatever you want to call it? First of all, there was a book that came out a few years ago. It's called Relentless by this guy named Tim Grover. He was Michael Jordan's trainer, trained Kobe Bryant. Great book. One of my favorite books for athletes as far as the mindset of being a dominant leader in a sports setting. That book is a great book. It's a book that I say the best compliment I can give a book is when I read it, I'm like, damn, I wish I wrote that book. That's the compliment I can give to Relentless. Excellent book from mindset, specifically for playing sports. I don't know how well what gets talked about in that book between the book that was written by Tim and his co-author, how well that could apply to regular life, because in regular life you can't beat people into submission all the time. That's not going to work. You're going to ruin too many relationships. You won't be able to get along in the business world trying to beat everybody into submission in that way. You got to there's some give and take, some push and pull when it comes to business relationships, is dealing with people on a day-to-day basis. But in sports, yeah, you could just beat people over the head and beat them into submission, because in sports you got that scoreboard up there that everybody's beholden to the scoreboard. Whereas in business, and not everybody has the exact same goal. Of course, you want to make money, but some people just want to make money at any cost. Some people want to make a certain amount. Some people want to make a difference. Some people want to give to charity. So not everybody has the same goal, so you can't go about things the exact same way. And I'm bringing up that book, Relentless, because in that book, Tim and his co-author, they came up with these archetypes, right? And the archetypes were basically these different types of competitors as the authors saw competitors. And the number one, the ideal archetype was this thing they called a cleaner. So when this book came out, this is like 6 years ago when this book came out, athletes would ask me, I got a ton of questions from athletes like, Dre, do you consider yourself to be this ideal archetype? Do you consider yourself to be a cleaner? Or somebody might say that I am. Somebody might compliment me. Their way of giving me a compliment was saying, yeah, you're definitely this person or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I remember even back then, even after I read the book, and I liked the book, I thought it was a great book. Again, there's a book that I wish that I had written. I never looked at myself and said, okay, yeah, I'm fitting into this archetype, or yeah, this is what this person would do. I wasn't opening the book and saying, yo, let me make sure I'm living up to the standards of what this archetype is, or make sure I'm being the ideal guy, or I'm dealing with this situation on my team, so let me be like this because this is what it says in chapter 10 of the book. That's not the way to live life. That's not the way. And the reason I'm bringing up that book and how it, even though that book was about sports, it was the exact same thing. The book was basically, in my opinion, the book Relentless was Michael Jordan's mindset written down in a book. That's basically what Tim and his co-author did. They took Michael Jordan's mindset, because Tim was Michael Jordan's trainer. He's been widely regarded as that. That's his claim to fame, so to speak. Not in a bad way, but shit, you train one of the best players, greatest players of all time in any sport. He trained him. So that was his claim to fame. He wrote a book about the mindset of this guy that he was dealing with for many, many years. And the thing is, even though Michael Jordan's my favorite ball player outside of myself, again, you can't take what you do in sports and apply that to regular life or business life, because it's not going to work the exact same way. It doesn't translate, because you can't beat people into submission. And this whole thing about that archetype, that ideal archetype, that cleaner, is the same thing as being an alpha male on or off the court that a lot of men are trying to get to. That's the reason why I'm bringing it up. And I want y'all to understand, this is something that I told basketball players even back then when the book came out, was, yo, even though I like the book, even though I think it's great, even though I'm a fan of Jordan, and I like the way he explained it and put it all in a way that's easy to understand for anybody, which makes it a great book, that doesn't mean you need to go outside and try to be that. Doesn't mean next time you're in practice, you need to talk to your teammates a certain way, or conduct yourself a certain way, or do things differently than you were doing them before just because you read it in a book. Now, you may take those as inspirations. I can take something from a book. Listen, I've read a ton. I've read, I don't know if 1,000, I've read hundreds of books. in my life. And the ones that I like best, I take elements from those books and I apply them to my life. I apply them to my thinking, to my speech. I apply them to even stuff that I give back to you. I take elements from what I read in the book, combine it with my own elements, with my own mindset, with my own experience, and create something new with it. So I utilize elements from books all the time, as you should. If you're gonna read a book, you might as well use what you learned in that book. But understand, just because somebody wrote it in a book does not mean this is the ideal, or this is the example that you need to follow for your life. All right, now you need to go out and live this way, or talk to people this way, or conduct yourself this way just because somebody said it in a book. Even if they wrote a book about their successes, that doesn't mean you need to go do exactly what that person did, because you're not that person. You're not in their situation, and you may not be dealing with the same circumstances that they were dealing with, or the same people that they were dealing with. So everyone may not respond the exact same way. So you don't need to try to be anything that you read in a book, or watched in a YouTube video, or saw in a movie, or heard on a podcast, or anything that anyone, even myself, if I was to come on here on video and tell you, look, I achieved this thing, you know, I got this many girls, or I made this much money, or I did this thing in sports, and this is the way that I did it, and this is the mindset that I had, and this is the way that I approached it. Yes, they take it in, consume it, utilize it, take the pieces that make sense for you, and leave out the pieces that don't make sense for you. But even the pieces that do make sense, the pieces that do touch you, the pieces that do inspire you, and you're like, yo, this is excellent right here. I wish somebody had told me this 5 years ago, 5 minutes ago, 10 years ago. Understand this. It is still your job to take what you hear and what you learn from someone else's material, whether mine or anyone else, and you need to apply thought to it. You need to ask yourself, this sounds great. How can I take this? How does this apply to who I am, where I am, what I'm doing in my particular life circumstances at this moment? How does this apply? Does this apply? Does it make sense for me to even apply this to what I'm doing? You need to ask that question, and you need to really put some thought into coming up with that answer. And until you get that answer, you should not walk out and just blindly start applying what you heard somebody else say, or what you see somebody else doing, just because they reached success with it. And they may not be lying. They may be telling you the complete truth that they did reach success with it. But again, you're not them. You're not dealing with the situations that they're dealing with. So you men out there who are you're seeking and looking for a way to be more of an alpha male, which to me, without even researching it, you know, alpha male to me, when I hear a man say that, I want to be the alpha male, that means they want to be more dominant. They want to be respected the most. They want their voice to be the loudest. They want to be at the head of the table, maybe literally or metaphorically. You just want to be the most dominant man in the room. You want to have the biggest balls of anybody in the room. Meaning you want to get all the girls, you want to be the number one scorer if it's a sports team, you want to be the one with the most success if it's just people in life. Understand that you don't have to go out in life and try to be those things. If you just be the best that you can be as a person, maybe you'll end up as that. Maybe you will be the best player if you have the most potential and you work on your game the most and you do the most performing. You'll be that best guy without trying to walk in the room and say, all right, I'm going to be the alpha male just because. Or getting girls, come on, it's 2019. I understand some of you at certain ages, if you're single, then that may be your thing. That may be what makes you feel like more of a man, or make you feel like you're more accomplished because of your social life / sexual conquests. But in the end, we got to understand the principles of the game if we're going to go into that. First of all, whatever conquest you have, there's an unwritten rule amongst people of respect, male and female, that you don't talk about what you did behind closed doors in the public. If you're doing that, then to me, you're already violating. You're already violating the principle, and you already a clown just by even talking about it. And I don't care if you're famous, how many followers you got, how much money you reportedly made, or whatever. If you're talking about what you did behind closed doors in a public forum in order to be respected, or because you think it makes you look like more of a man, you're a clown. That's just my opinion. Anyone you've seen doing that, it applies to them. Again, famous or not famous. Secondly, if you are performing and you're producing the result and you're doing your thing in business, especially in sports, you're going to be respected for how you perform. You're going to be respected for stepping up and being that person who produces whatever result that you're producing. And if you happen to be in a leadership position, you've earned a leadership position where you can speak up or where you can set the example, you're going to see that. You're going to know that you're already in that spot. You don't have to try to be it. You don't have to talk to people a certain way. You don't have to try to live out, a little passage from a book that you read because the book inspired you or you like what the author said. You don't need to do any of that. You need to just be who you are as the best version of you, the locked in version of you, the version of you that produced the best result, and utilize that. Again, take the book, take the YouTube video, take the documentary or what's the other thing, the webinar or whatever it is, and take the element and say, all right, how can I apply this to my life? How can I apply this to when I'm playing ball? How can I apply this to when I'm dealing with people of the opposite sex? How can I apply it? And if you can't come up with an answer, then it's not for you to use. It's not for you to go make sense of. You don't need to be what somebody else said. Again, just because it's in a book or it came out the mouth of some famous person or somebody said it who is really successful in the same thing you're trying to be successful at, does not mean you need to do the exact same thing that they did. All right, you need to go and be you, the best version of you. And maybe one day somebody will write a book about your mindset or about your approach or the way that you did things. Maybe you'll be the one to write that book. But you can't live your life trying to live up to what somebody else wrote or what somebody else said or what somebody else did, because first of all, you'll never match it. You'll never become a better version of whoever that person was. And like I said, that book, Relentless, is Michael Jordan's mindset in a book, which is a great thing. I value it. I appreciate the fact that that book exists, but I'm not going out trying to be that because I ain't Michael Jordan. I'm me. I can take what I can take from Jordan and use that for myself, and whatever doesn't work for me or doesn't make sense for me in my setting, whatever I'm doing, then I got to leave that out. And I can appreciate it for being in the book because I'm a fan of Jordan, but I don't need to go and try to be that person because listen, I'm me and you're you. You got it at some point in your life. And whether we're talking about a particular person, Michael Jordan, Mamba mentality, whatever that means, any business person successful, any person who's successful, talking to females, for those of you men who are out there and that's what you're looking for right now, that's what you're after, I'm not against it. Listen, I'm not telling you not to do it. If that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. But don't think that you need to live your life based on an archetype or an ideal type of man, such as an alpha male that you've heard about, because you think that's the only way you can be successful, or you think that's the only way you'll be respected, or that's the only way you'll be looked up to, or you think it's going to fill some emptiness, some void in your soul because you became an alpha male. Again, whatever the hell that even means to you, or you became a fill in the blank, whatever name somebody made up to put on their YouTube channel or a book. You feel like you got to be that because it makes you more of a man. That's not what makes you a man. What makes you a man is taking care of yourself, being respectful of yourself, being respectful of other people, and receiving respect in exchange for who you are as a person, not who you're pretending to be, not who you're trying to be, and not by the fact that you're trying to make yourself be above other people. Because when you're trying to be an alpha male, that means you're trying to put yourself above all the other males in the room. And when you do that a little bit too much, there may be some people who you can do it with and you'll get away with it, but you're going to run into somebody who may be a little bit more alpha than you, or somebody who wants to challenge you for that. And if you ain't up for that challenge, it may put you in a situation that you don't want to be in, if you understand what I'm saying. And if you don't, then you keep trying it and maybe eventually you'll learn. Be the best version of you that you can be. Take the elements that work for you. Ask yourself how they apply. Then go use those. And whatever happens from there, just happens from there. But don't go trying to be something that somebody else made up, because now you're trying to live up to somebody else's standard. And no matter how hard you try, you'll never be successful at that. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com. Nobody out there needs more information. What you need these days is a strategy, frameworks, processes, how to actually take all the information that's out there, all the knowledge and content that's out there, make sense of it, and actually produce a result, a tangible result. That's why I created the Game Group. It is my membership site where you will get tangible results for specific areas: business, personal development, basketball skill, and professional basketball. Choose your area of focus, and we have targeted, specified outcomes every single month, along with live trainings, the ability to contact me, have your work critiqued by me, and a whole lot of other stuff. The link and all the information is down in the description at DreAllDay.com/membership. Get in the Game Group if you're ready to get some results and not just a whole bunch of information. Let's do it. Work on your game.